Hey everyone, today we're going to be focusing in on talking about group level change within an organization. This is really important to every organization when you want to try to improve things or make things better. Part of the purpose today will be to provide an overview of what group level change involves and how it is beneficial to organization. One of the ways we do that is by team building. Organizational change efforts typically rely heavily on the use of work groups. These family units within an organization have to make changes in the way they conduct their work. If we look at the four purposes of team building, we can see the are to set goals or priorities, to analyze or allocate the way work is performed according to team members' roles and responsibilities, to examine the way the group is working, its processes, such as norms, decision-making, communications, to evaluate interpersonal relationships among members. The different types of groups. There are self-directed groups within many organizations, and this is because of downsizing and delayering to more nimble and adaptable, so they can be more adaptable to rapid change in the marketplace. The problems you can encounter or have to overcome to be effective with these types of groups are group members must learn to share power. This is sometimes difficult. I've been involved in groups before, and sometimes it's tough because a lot of times you have too many people wanting to be the leader and not as many people want to be the followers or people who get a lot of the work done. Effectively managing differences and conflicts. This is really difficult sometimes because you can have situations where different differences of opinion will erupt in groups, which I've been involved in before myself. And having to find ways to resolve those are really, really important because you don't want that to interfere with the overall goal of the group, which is obviously to make the company better and more efficient. Not all group members are equal with respect to skills and abilities. This is true in experiences because many times you'll find people who don't have the same level of experience as maybe a senior manager does, and they may just be new to the organization, so they don't understand the way things sort of work. It may have been done differently where they work somewhere else. So a lot of times they have that personal bias that happens that they want to bring to this company, and they don't understand that there are sometimes reasons why things are done a certain way in their new company. Another type of group is the intergroup. These are work units or groups in an organization that normally depend on one another, such as marketing people, research and development, manufacturing, or headquarters in the field as they exchange information. And this happens a lot of times you'll experience problems when you're dealing with different groups. There can always be, just as with other types of groups, real conflicts between the groups, and there are genuine disagreements that happen, and that's normal within any organization. But a lot of times you will have what they call, according to Burke, which was phony conflicts that erupt. And I've been involved in groups, and this does happen sometimes. And it's a little more personal. It consists of negative, even hostile, blaming behavior that occurs when an agreement is mismanaged. One party says, for example, I told you the project couldn't work. Look at the mess you got us in. And the other says, don't blame me. It would have worked if you had done your job. And this type of scenario plays out almost all the time in these types of groups because people sometimes have those differences of opinion. It's just very important to keep on track and make sure that these are real conflicts and not, as the Burke has defined, phony conflicts, because you do not want to get in a situation where the overall goal is sidelined because of phony conflicts. The response to change can always happen with employees. The more that work units and organization are involved in helping to plan and implement change, the more likely they are to embrace rather than resist the organizational change effort. And that is very true. If they resist change, they do it in these four ways: turf protection and competition, which A lot of times people don't want to give up their responsibilities in an organization, which is understandable, because they feel like they will be losing something if someone else takes over their responsibility. Closing ranks, they can often resist that in that way. Changing allegiances or ownership, changing groups, things like that because of conflict. Or even worst case scenario, they can demand for new leadership, which, as you can see from the picture, seems rather quite humorous, but in some respects, this is the worst type of thing that can happen in a group level change environment, because it means that the people in the group have lost faith in the leader, and ultimately there's been a total breakdown and failure, which is something you want to avoid. The best way to implement change, one of the reasons organizational change is difficult is that people and groups are usually so busy doing their own tasks that they do not have time to come together to implement change completely and collectively. Yet most kind of change is complex, and it has to be approached on multiple fronts. The temporal shifts we observe serve to reconnect despondent actors and create a synchronized readiness for change among all those who need to be involved, as it shows in this organization here. How it is beneficial. Developing criteria for helping organization change. One of the things you can look at is if properly managed, an organization change process may promote good working conditions for day-to-day operations. And that's something that every organization hopefully wants, is to have good working conditions, because it means less turnover and happier employees in the long run. And when you have high turnover, that can be a detriment to any type of organization. The 5 categories of bring about successful change are to look at the awareness of the norms. It is how we do it around here. It's something that you might hear people say. Awareness of diversity, and that's looking at the maturity and work experience of the workforce. Manager availability, be able to contact a manager is really important. Constructive conflicts, open resistance should be welcomed, meaning those who disagree should be able to express why they disagree. And role clarification, which is really important, because oftentimes people need to know what role they have within the group in order to make it be successful. In summary, looking at changing an organization, it can sometimes be difficult to achieve. All organizations must find ways to evaluate where they are and where they are heading. Thank you very much for being able to present today. And here is the reference sheet for this. Thank you very much.